that fast. And the person who's going to lose weight that fast is a person who's got a lot of weight to lose. But if you've got 5 or 10 pounds that you want to lose, or maybe 30 or 40, that'd be very typical. Let's lose it. Let's not fool around. Let's put yourself in a body that you want to be in, that makes you feel good, that doesn't just help you to knock off that weight, but helps your arteries to open up, helps your sexual function to return, helps your mind to work today and to protect it for tomorrow. We can do those things. It's all a question of having the information and then putting it to work.
Is there truth in the fact that spicy foods, specifically spicy peppers, like hot peppers, reduce your appetite?
They seem to, but I don't believe that is the main effect. I think the main effect is on metabolism. They do seem to affect the appetite in a helpful way, but the main effect, I think, is the metabolic increase.
You said
we see we can measure this where we bring people in and you put on kind of a mask. You look like a pilot, and what I'm actually measuring is your carbon dioxide output and then your oxygen intake, and that's proportional to your metabolism. It's proportional to how fast you're burning calories. No. And almost anything you eat will cause you to increase your metabolism while you are in the post-ingestion period.
Of course it will.
But 2 things. There are certain foods that cause a bigger burn. The ones that cause the biggest burn are the ones that are high in carbohydrate, but also peppers are for some reason in that category. And if a person has been on a low-fat vegan diet going into the test, they get an even bigger burn afterward. Yeah. And that's because their body is, we believe, is more insulin sensitive than it was before. So if I want to really increase your burn and help you to get the weight off, I would not only serve you these healthy foods at each meal, but I would take advantage of the fact that they are adjusting your physiology for the long term.
What about ginger?
Yeah, ginger is also, it's a relative of these other foods, where you see that capsaicin is the one that really killer spice. Ginger is kind of its first cousin, and it causes a similar effect.
A weight loss effect.
Yes, and other things too. I mean, people use ginger for many, many things. There are people using it for migraines and as an
mini food.
Inflammatory. There's a reason that these spices have been used since time immemorial.
Yes.
And our goal now
mostly
is to tackle this big issue of extra weight and just see if we can put it to work for that.
Mangoes, papayas, legumes, green vegetables, orange vegetables are all some of the things included in the Power Foods diet. The most controversial of all, though, is eggs.
Yeah.
You know, you can come for everything else, but coming for eggs is particularly triggering. You say in the book, eggs are not helpful for your waistline.
Well, eggs have lots of issues. The first is that it's a cholesterol bomb. And the egg industry would like us to believe that they don't raise cholesterol. They clearly do. And we published a review on this where we looked at every study ever done on eggs, and they clearly raise cholesterol. And even the studies done by the egg industry do show this, although their interpretation is different. If the studies were funded by the egg industry, they'll say, well, it increased cholesterol, but not significantly, something like that. But they clearly do. And that's for a reason.
Still.
That an egg, when an egg is laid, that egg doesn't call out for room service. That chicken developing inside has to make the chicken's body from everything that was in the egg. And so it's laid with a ton of cholesterol because the cholesterol is an integral ingredient in the animal's body.
Yeah.
Instead, you boil it and eat it, you're getting a ton of cholesterol.
Yes.
So anyway, you have eggs if you want them.
I think beefers.
But it's got a huge amount of cholesterol.
Actually, I do like lamb a lot too. And
you don't need the rest of it.
I wrote a book in 2020, which touches on a few of the subjects we've already touched on around the hormones within our body. And I think hormones are a under-addressed but very interesting and very important subject matter. For someone that doesn't really understand hormones and doesn't really know the relevance of them, what are our hormones and why does understanding our hormone balances matter at all?
Hormones are the director that controls everything in your body.
Yeah, good.
And the old way of thinking about food, the old-fashioned way of thinking about food was, I eat a bad food, I have a disease. I eat high cholesterol foods, I'll get a heart attack.
What?
And foods control your hormones.
Yeah.
Hormones are directions, they're letters, they're messages that go from one part of the body where they're made to another part of the body where they tell it what to do. And if we're just eating foods without any understanding of what that's doing to those hormones, then you're a victim of everything that's in your diet.
Yes.
I was sitting at my desk one day. A young woman called me up.
That must have been exciting for you.
She said, I can't get out of bed.
That must have been even more exciting.
And a lot of women have menstrual cramps. For maybe 1 in 10, it's off the scale. I can't go to work today type cramps. And that was her situation. She said, I got a business meeting. I'm supposed to be at the airport tomorrow morning, but I can't even move. Could I give her Demerol? That was her question. It's a narcotic. And I said, I can give you heavy duty painkillers for a couple of days. But I was thinking, what's causing this? And I started,
Well, it's often a hormonal problem.
started to realize that there was a very good chance that she had too much estrogen in her blood. The estrogen every month thickens the lining of the uterus in a woman's body in anticipation of pregnancy.
Good.
And that endometrial lining, if there's too much estrogen, it thickens up too much. And then with the menstrual flow, it breaks apart and it releases these maladjusted chemicals called prostaglandin that cause the cramping. So I started thinking, wait a minute, let's reduce her estrogen. Let's change her hormones. How are we going to do that? As luck would have it, researchers at Tufts University in Boston had done a study. Brought in a group of women, 48. They put them on a metabolic ward. They locked the door. They prepared the food. They gave them diets for 8 to 10 weeks, either cutting fat, increasing fiber, or doing both at the same time. And what they found was amazing. The more you cut fat, the more estrogen levels came down to a more normal level. The more that you increased fiber, again, the more that estrogen came down.
Yeah.
What they were thinking about was breast cancer. If I can tame estradiol, I can reduce breast cancer risk. But
There you go.
I was thinking, this woman has hormone haywire that's causing her cramps. So I suggested something I don't think any doctor ever suggested before. I said, let me give you some painkillers for today, for tomorrow, so you can function. But would you like to try an experiment? Everything in your diet I want to be from a plant for the next 4 weeks.
What's next?
And keep oils really low. What am I doing? I'm making sure she gets max fiber, minimum fat. She called me back 4 weeks later. She said, Dr. Bernard, I got my period today. Nothing. No symptoms whatsoever. This is miraculous.
No, it is. Still.
Doesn't happen to me ever. And she was cured as long as she stuck with it. But then she would kind of loosen up her diet and then the pain came roaring back.
We did it.
So we then did a randomized trial,
Did you?
which we published in the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology with our partners at Georgetown University's Department of OBGYN. And it was randomized. It was the diet versus a supplement that was actually a placebo. And it works. And the diet reduced the duration of pain, the intensity of the pain, as well as PMS symptoms like bloating and water retention and moodiness. All these things got better. Now, there's some variability. For some women, it's just cure. For others, the effect is more mild. But then we started to realize, wait a minute, how about menopause, where a woman has hot flashes that are driving her crazy? You can change that whole scenario dramatically
Exactly.
with food. And things like thyroid function, where a person's hypo or hyperthyroid. All of these things have food connections.
Yes.
We need more research. Not everything is known, but there is more than enough known now that people should be able to put it to work for themselves.
Speaking specifically there about, I want to talk about the other things you mentioned, thyroids, menopause, etc. But on the point of fertility, a lot of people are struggling with fertility for a variety of different reasons. I think we're all getting a little bit, we're having kids later than ever before, both men and women. And fertility as a conversation is rising, and also IVF is becoming more popular for obvious reasons. What impact does our bodies, specifically how large our bodies are and how much fat we have on our bodies, have on our chances of being fertile?
That has a huge effect.
And are we seeing any sort of macro trends in human fertility?
Yeah, we are. I mean, fertility is threatened, and you see more infertility now than you've probably ever seen. Now, let me say that I'm not cheerleading for increasing human fertility. We've got more than enough of it, and I think people shouldn't feel pressured to jump into it if it's not their thing. However, for women and men who want to have kids, there are certain things that are good to know about. And one is that excess body weight interferes.
Yes.
No big